guys. Welcome to another episode of Johanna's Artbeat. Today I'm very excited to let you know that I'm going to be speaking with Ella Smith. She is one of the writer-creators of This Is BS, the series, which was also created with her friend Lindsey Bristol. As you might have heard me say in prior episodes, unfortunately, I had a wonderful interview with both those ladies, but I had my first terrible technical difficulties and that interview was lost. So I'm only going to be talking with Ella, but I will be discussing Lindsey as well because she's a huge part. And shout out to everybody involved in the production. Previously on Johanna's Artbeat, I had Teo Rapp Olsen, and this episode has been pretty much my most popular. The YouTube views, are gangbusters. It's probably the most viewed video I've ever had. So I want to see if you guys continue to enjoy the video component. So please comment and let me know if that's a preference, because I'd like to get my the artists I have on more attention, of course, and I'd like you to get more of the word out about my podcast. I am your host, of course, Johanna Lindsey. Other than that, we also have everyone involved in this podcast has been doing so well. This is BS is doing amazingly. Ryan, who was on the podcast in the past, he recently had his first role on Law & Order SVU. Congratulations, Ryan. My friend, coach, and mentor, Eugenie Bondron, is just crushing it as a model, doing work constantly in Paris. And everyone who has been involved with the podcast has been doing really, really well. So thank you so much for, being loyal fans and listeners. Again, if you can subscribe on YouTube, you can also check out my acting and singing work as well. But thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for making the last episode with Teo so popular. I hope you've been watching him on The Walking Dead, his incredible arc as Sebastian. Okay, so here's my review of This Is BS. I'm going to try to do that on video too, since you guys seem to really like video, which is new to me because I prefer a podcast to be audio only, but here goes. I love subscriptions, comments, and all that jazz too as well. Pretty please. So This Is BS. My friend Ella Smith and her collaborator Lindsey Bristol recently put out the fantastic new series, This Is BS, a mockumentary-style 7-episode series centering around a non-union summer stock theater. As an actor, it was really relatable, even for actors like myself who've never done summer stock theater. It is in many ways a love letter to the theatrical community. Although the series is also a comedy, the teasing is never malicious, and it obviously comes from people who really love the arts. For purposes of this podcast, I'll be reviewing episode 2 entitled Method in the Madness. I do reference the prior episode a bit, and I would highly recommend watching it first, just to get introduced to the main characters and to avoid any spoilers I might be discussing. So here's your time to pause if you'd like to. So the prior episode established for us the main cast who are part of the summer stock season of the fictional theater company Bristol Shores Playhouse. This is BS. It took an embarrassing moment or two for me to realize that was This Is BS. Yeah, sad but true. Jesse Kane Gill is the techie/stage manager who we were introduced during auditions in the first episode. The episode starts, this one, number 2, with Jesse dragging trash to a dumpster in the woods. After a struggle to do so, see in theater, people of all different sizes are expected to be able to do grunt work. We cut to a black title screen with voices singing to open the episode. It shows the series won't just be portraying the glamour of the theater. From there, we cut to an adorable barn with a company name on it and the first day of rehearsal in quotes in the lower screen to bring us right into the Bristol Shores universe. We're then taken to the actors rehearsing, including Ella Smith, who plays wide-eyed sweet ingenue Margot, Lindsey Bristol as Jessica, who has worked with Bristol before, and Ashley Chu as Chrissy, who we first meet last episode as struggling to fit in her audition, with her survival job. Christopher Joel Onken plays Daniel, an intense method actor, and Azriel Cruz is Bakara Rose, who we first met last episode when her name is called incorrectly at the audition. So hopefully I said it right. Apologies if I didn't. Also in the room is Yana Papadimos, I'm probably saying that wrong, I apologize, who plays Ben, who it is clear from the prior episode doesn't really fit in. And finally, Jack Scott is Evan, who we first meet the prior episode freezing online waiting to get into auditions. And I can tell you, for a lot of actors now, if you're going to EPAs, they're mostly virtual. But when I first moved here and for many years prior to, and who knows if it'll come back, even if you were non-union, you could go to EPAs and wait to see if you were seen. And sometimes that would entail standing outside in the freezing cold to keep your spot in line. And I think it was a cool process to get to go through, but in some ways it's great that you don't have to deal with that as much now for the younger actors out there. Anyway, back to the auditions. review rather. The episode begins with Amanda Pinto as Vanessa. She's gathering the performers for an announcement about a new choreographer. AJ Diddy is fantastic as Ted, the head of the theater, who we also met last episode at auditions, of course. And we find he cannot attend this rehearsal as he is dealing with important legal matters. Shayla Parrott, Linda, who we met last episode, is the most seasoned actress, comes in late just as the speech starts. The gang of actors find out that their new choreographer will be an accomplished one, Nathan Rivera, played by Steven Rada. The cast are beyond excited by this news, and Nathan is introduced and rehearsals are underway. The episode consists of confessional style used in most mockumentaries. This teaches us more about our main crew. It's quite funny that Nathan is seen as older and experienced when he doesn't seem much older than the other performers. That's often, though, how the industry is, though, especially when the cast gossip about him being the sexier older man. This is a great commentary on how the industry views age. This episode also does that with the treatment and pressure on Linda to be seen as a mom to the others, who she isn't much older than the other actresses, but is clearly feeling the ageism in this industry. And again, that's something that women in this industry deal with all the time. Shayla really makes you sympathize with her character well. And I'm sure with a lesser actor, she would be unlikable when she asks for better treatment. But as she plays Linda, it comes off as understandable and extremely relatable. She was one of my favorites. Everybody's great, but I really related to that character a lot. The episode also focuses on the rehearsal process for Medea, who Bakara Rose plays, and Daniel, who plays her love interest. The duo are set up here as a possible showmance, the term used for a romance between cast members during a show run. Romances that usually don't last. They both really send up the intensity we often use as performers as well. The company is performing Medea and Mamma Mia in Rep. The episode also shows Rose and Daniel using Meisner methods to work on their characters, and them trying to initiate Margot with a late night ritual that she walks in on one evening. Ella really played the excited newcomer so well. Ben gets ignored and picked on by the other actors, and I especially sympathized for him. We have all as artists yearned to fit in, but have been in situations where sadly we weren't accepted or even were made the butt of jokes. Though theater is magical, it can also be brutal and very catty, unfortunately. There are lots of great one-liners, and I think every actor will especially enjoy the jokes and the parody of the behind the scenes of the theatrical world. Jessica trying to use her sexuality on Nathan is wonderfully awkward, and she really plays off being clueless at how little it's working as well. Evan plays the gay gossip, to a T, and his bonding with Chrissy is a joy to watch. I really, really enjoyed the show. And as I told my friend Ella when I first saw it, I was like, this looks like this could be on TV right now. I think it's fantastic, and there's so much more to come with it. So I love this series. It's free online on YouTube. I would highly recommend you check it out. Thanks for listening to the review. And next up, my interview with Miss Ella Smith. Okay, so before I get to my interview with Ella Smith, I want to tell you a little bit about her. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit about Lindsey Bristol, who was supposed to be in this episode, but when we first ran it, unfortunately, I had some technical issues. So I did want to also just send you some information, about Lindsey, because it's basically my fault that she wasn't able to be on this episode because technical issues, but we discussed her in the episode. So I'm just going to give a brief bio of her as well, and then of Ella. So Lindsey Bristol is a bi-coastal director, writer, producer with a BFA in musical theater from the University of Montevallo in Birmingham, Alabama. She has over a decade of experience in entertainment production and worked with top industry professionals in TV, film, on Broadway, and in live events. In addition to producing/writing her own work, including the original show we discuss here, This Is BS, she has Down Boy, Storm Stories, a podcast about the impact of Hurricane Katrina on coastal Mississippi high school students who are now adults facing a global pandemic, and Superhero Princess, a narrative music video. She's worked as a casting associate, with Mongolia Theatricals, a talent consultant with UGA, production coordinator for multiple events and live stream clients, including Willow Weddings, Winter's Eve at Lincoln Center, the Actors Fund, Cherub Improv, and a production assistant on network sets, including ESPN and TVN. She's also an avid puppeteer and a golfer. So that's about our friend Lindsey Bristol. If you want more about her, it's lindseybristol.com. And then Ella, she's at ellanicolesmith.com. So Ella, who I'm talking to today, was born and raised in the Twin Cities, and she moved to New York City to study drama at NYU's famous Tisch School of the Arts. So she's another guest who is a Tisch alum. She studied at the Stella Adler studio there, and in her junior year was one of 16, just 16 students selected to attend the Shakespeare program at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. In addition to her classical training, she studied improv and sketch art at the Upright Citizens Brigade, where she fell in love with comedy. She wrote, starred in, and produced a short comedic film titled Period. And she wrote a mockumentary web series about non-union regional summer stock theater called This Is BS, which we're discussing shortly, which she also acted in and produced, as did Lindsey, as well on the show. Ella is a member of the sketch comedy group Stupid Hot, and when not acting, finds great joy teaching classes at Rikers Island Correctional Facility. That's something we'll also touch on. So without further ado, here's my chat with Ella Smith. Welcome to Johanna's Artbeat, Ella Smith.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. And Ella is just amazing because we had some technical difficulties and she was kind enough to still come back, even though this is just, technology sometimes just doesn't obey us. It's, things go into
I can't judge because I'm the worst with technology. So I hear you.
It had to happen once. So thank you for your patience. And
No
of course,
problem.
who's not here this time, unfortunately, is Lindsey Bristol, but she's also amazing and part of this. So I wanted to shout her out.
Yeah.
And just really, really quickly, to start out how I connected with Ella was through, some play work and also coming to do extra work for her series. So that was a lot of fun. So thank you for letting me be a small part of it.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It was a crazy day, but it was
It was fun though. I mean, it was so much fun.
fun.
Definitely. Yeah. And it was like, basically we got to do a really bad audition, like got to overact on purpose. I was like, yes, I'll do that. And I remember you told me that you laughed a lot. I was like, yes. All right.
Oh my gosh, because I was on the other side of the camera. So and we just kept the camera going and we're just having like actors come in, like one after the other doing their shitty audition. And we were all in the back, just like fists in our mouths, crying, trying so hard not to ruin it. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it must have been a blast because there's some funny ones. I watched some of the other ones. And just before we get into the show, that This Is BS, I did just want to touch on really quickly that Ella, you worked at Rikers for a while, so I didn't know there were like acting programs for incarcerated people. If you want to just talk briefly about that, just so because I think it's important.
So I got involved through teaching acting classes at Rikers through the studio that I trained at, the Stella Adler Studio of Acting, and a big part of their
Tisch, right? You were the Tisch program for Stella Adler.
In Tisch, yeah, but you could go to Stella Adler if you're part of NYU or not part of NYU.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And part of their identity and mission statement is that growth as a actor and growth as a human being are synonymous.
Yeah.
So for them having a really strong outreach program was really, really a core pillar of like their school. So I learned about their outreach program where they would go and teach acting classes at Rikers and actually all New York City jails, all over. And when they were like hiring for assistants, I applied and was like, I'm really passionate about doing this type of work. I've always been interested. And then through that, I moved up from an assistant to having my own classes.
Nice.
And it's just, unfortunately, COVID has shut it down and kind of they've changed their model. So I haven't been able to be back since. But I don't know. I consider it like one of the great privileges of my life.
Sure it was. And did you, do they do like anything virtual now since COVID, or are they really just paused?
No, I mean, maybe they did. I remember the Stella Adler studio was collecting monologues and poems and things to send as like a video. But it's pretty, I just can't imagine they'd get their act together enough to be able to do video classes or things like that.
That's really fair. That's fair. It's just such a nice thing to have for the people there.
It just breaks my heart thinking about how all the programs that were canceled during COVID. And for a lot of people, they rely on programs to just kind of like get them through the day and sustain, you know what I mean? Like, and there's so many amazing organizations that bring programs to Rikers. I saw hip hop dancing classes.
Someone outside, this is New York, folks. Someone outside is not happy. They could just probably, like with my street, they probably could go down another street. They're just going to be loud. It's okay.
This is like the loudest room in our apartment too, which of course is the room that I like film auditions and
That's funny.
voiceover. And I'm always like, why? Um,
It's all good.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know what else we want to talk about
No,
that.
no, no, that's cool. I just
It's
wanted
an
to kind of touch on it so
interesting,
people
yeah,
knew about it because I think it's just a really cool thing. It's really cool that you did it.
yeah.
Um, and even though she's not here with us today, Lindsey has this podcast called like is it Storm Searchers? So
Dorm stories.
Storm Stories. I think you should also guys check that out because that was really
Yeah.
really interesting and cool piece. It was like what was it about one of the hurricanes, right? I think.
It was about Hurricane Katrina. Yes,
Yeah,
Hurricane
yeah. So you
Katrina.
can, I think you can still find it online. I'll post more information and get with her on
Yeah,
that. But I just wanted to touch on that because I think that's also an amazing thing that she did. So I just wanted to shout that out since she's not here.
yeah. Lindsay's an
So cool. And so let's get into the show. This is BS the series, which centers around an acting company of a summer stock and the drama that ensues. And of course, Shores, excuse me. It took me a second to realize, that's what that stood for, Bristol Shores, and because it has a double meaning
yeah.
of this is BS. And you and Lindsey met at Real Summer Stock. How to say the name of the playhouse because I've forgotten how to say it.
Lindsay and I met while working. We were doing a summer contract at the Winnipesaukee
Yes,
Playhouse.
that was it. Yes.
Yep, which is in New Hampshire. And it's just a very idyllic, red barn converted into a beautiful theater, by the lake and lovely smaller town, New England town. And yeah, Lindsay, my co-creator and writer, co-creator of the series, we met there, and we were, doing rehearsals in the day and performances at night, and we just remember talking like, crazy things happen all the time at Summer Stock because you're living, breathing, eating theater. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
I really
you
want to
live.
do it now, actually, after just
Oh,
hearing that.
it's so fun. I mean, it's like kind of ratchet, but it's so
Yeah,
fun.
but it's
Like
an experience. Yeah, yeah.
there's not always a lot of money in it, but
Well, yeah, in
um,
theater in
the
general.
theaters, are so devoted to their communities and to creating something really, really special, and like great work happens. And so a lot of actors get out of the city, out of New York for the summer, which is really fun, and can go somewhere else on the East Coast. And so like swimming and beach days and all these things, but then also just, working 24/7 basically. It's like summer camp for adults because you're
Mhm.
living with your friends and then rehearsing
True.
during the day. And yeah, exactly.
I think you told me you kind of got the idea while you were like behind this. You were like in the wings or something. Were you doing shows? You
Yeah,
said?
something funny had happened. I can't remember exactly what was the impetus for the idea, but we were like, "This is hilarious. We need to write this down. This needs to be a TV show." So we started writing it, while we were backstage, waiting to go on. We started writing
I
ideas and
love it.
scenes and that kind of stuff. And then when we got back to New York, was when we really, um, started taking it to the next level, finishing out writing the season. And we wanted to get a director and cinematographer on early on,
Mhm.
to, collaborate with and get some feedback on the scripts and see their visions. And so I went to school with Amanda Pinto and Jake Nathanson,
Right,
who
right.
are the minds behind suburban headshot photography here in New
Oh,
York.
okay.
They're
Shout
super
out to them.
talented. They're super cool. We adore them. So we reached out to them and was like, this is something that you guys would be interested.
Cool.
So
The connections
Amanda,
matter, as I talk about a lot on the podcast. The people you meet,
for
connections matter.
sure.
Yeah.
And I never like hung out with them that much, but I always like, we ran in similar circles. So I
Sure, of
knew
course.
them
Yeah.
and
And why not
respected
use
them.
people that you know are good at what they do? So of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Jake had filmed a short film of mine
Oh,
a few
nice.
years prior. So there was I had really enjoyed working with them. So Amanda came on as our director, Jake as our cinematographer, and they just really helped us, make it come alive and make it into a thing. So then we had to fundraise for it, and
Right.
that was a whole process. And finally, we got our cast and crew of 25. And what's amazing is Lindsay and we were looking around when we first started writing this. We're like, okay, like, how can we rearrange our own apartments to make it look like a lot of different spaces and
Right,
rooms
right, right.
and stuff like that. But we were like, gosh, we just really wish we could film it at the Winnipesaukee Playhouse because
Yes,
that's a shared place that we had in our mind. So when we were
that's where it
writing it,
started.
the whole theater, that theater was like, in our minds as we were writing it. And Neil and Leslie Pankhurst, who are the owners of
Shout out to
um,
them.
the Winnipesaukee, yes, they are amazing. They're just delightful people. They have run such a, wonderful theater. And we reached out to them and was like, hey, any chance you'd be open to letting us film at your theater? And they were like, we've got 1 week off in September. You can have it for that 1 week.
Oh,
And they just like
beautiful.
let us had full reign. And they had no idea, like bless them. They had no idea what we were about to bring up to them, but they
They
welcomed us with
trusted
open.
you. That's awesome, I think
Yeah, they were
that's
great.
really, really cool.
Can't
And
thank
did
them
you,
enough.
do any kind of recording of it before putting it on YouTube, or was just, pretty much just did, pitching to people, I guess?
We did a little like web series festival circuit. Um, so it won Audience Choice Award at the
Ooh,
Minnesota Web Fest. It won Best Ensemble Cast at the New York Web Fest.
awesome.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, so we kind of did we did a bunch of festivals for a year, which was fun to see other people's work and make connections and that sort of thing.
Yeah, of
um,
course.
but we were always really clear that we wanted it to be free and accessible because for
Oh,
us the
it
point
is.
of this was to showcase our work and showcase all the amazing people who
Absolutely.
brought their talents to it. And we didn't want any price or anything. We weren't in it. I mean, in the arts, you're never really in it
It's
to
a
make money.
labor of love, it has to be, and
Yeah, exactly.
one of these days we'll all be rich, maybe,
I mean,
but,
I'd
it's
love
not why you
to
get into it.
make money. That
Yeah,
would
yeah, you
be
don't.
nice.
People sometimes think so you do, they think everyone in the arts is like it's like, "No, we do it because we want to do it or else we'd be pretty
Yeah,
miserable."
we have to have other jobs too.
Exactly,
We work two
exactly.
full-time jobs.
Yes, exactly. And of course, you've got a really great producing team. You've got Funny Girl Productions, Rock Rising, and Terry Crews. So how do you go about, connecting with different producers and getting them involved? For anyone who's listening who wants to make film themselves.
So, Funny Girl Productions, ours were all kind of just like lucky random connections. Funny Girl Productions is the LLC that Lindsay and I started.
Right,
So
right, right.
that's us. So
Mhm.
they were so happy to come on board and like, give us their money. um,
They're the best.
um, Rock Rising, Lindsay knew the team behind that production company, and they, had some money set aside that they just wanted to use to support artists. So we, had a meeting with them, and they were happy to um, get behind us, help us out, and have been really, really amazing support. They're super cool New York little production
Nice.
team. By little, I mean like just like it's a handful of people, but they're like quite prolific. They have like 4 different podcasts that they
That's
produce, a
awesome.
musical, music albums, et cetera, et cetera. They're very cool. Check them out, Rock Rising. And then Terry Crews saw our fundraising pitch video and unbeknownst to us, became interested and wanted to support. So we feel very lucky that we had so many people behind us who were excited about the idea.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I was just looking. I'm like, I think I follow Rock Rising. I do, and your other one too.
They're
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that getting the money part. I feel like that's something us creatives don't really like to do, but it's
good.
it's necessary because it's hard. It's awkward. It's like
It's so funny because I thought it was going to be an awful experience, and it was
yes,
awful just in the sense that we did not give ourselves enough time to
mm,
fundraise. We
mm,
were like, "Oh, we'll have all summer," and then because
not
we
so
had
much.
our set date for
Mhm,
Winnipesaukee,
right.
we had a timeline and a
Mm,
crunch time. So we're like, we'll give ourselves all summer, and then we're like, no, we'll just fundraise for a month, and then finally we're like, okay, we're gonna do 2 weeks of really hard fundraising, which was so stupid, and I would never recommend to anyone. It was the most stressful thing, but
you did it
it was
though.
also a really positive experience
That's good.
because when you're fundraising, you send a bajillion emails and reach out to everyone
Mm,
basically, and is like, hey, this is why I'm passionate about this project, and
Mm.
this is why I think you would be interested in it too. And seeing the people who, maybe I haven't even talked to in a few years, seeing them donate even like $15, like it
That's
was
really
really,
cool.
really cool to see. It was actually a really like moving
Aw.
experience. I was just so grateful, like
Yeah, no,
seeing
that's
our
it's nice to
community.
see when people like, are like believe in you and like support you.
Yeah,
Like,
it
yeah,
was a cool
so some of it's
experience.
wild as an artist to realize, oh yeah, people support me. That's right.
Right, exactly.
Because we forget sometimes.
It's so
Um,
true.
yeah, it is. Cause like I did a play recently and I was like, some people came, I had like one person, a friend came who I hadn't seen in like a year or two. And I was like, oh, okay. Like it's just nice to
Yeah.
realize that, you have people who really care.
And it's
Um,
important to have
we
that
need
community
support. We
behind
need
you.
support. But yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you guys go about, because it was just mostly the two of you. How did you go about casting the main roles? And I think you might have said, did you have actors in mind? Like what was the casting process like?
Yeah. So we pretty much just we like kept it pretty small. We just used our own networks,
Right.
posted on social media that we were casting. We had like very little kind of monologues for the
Mm.
different characters, and people just sent in tapes. So some roles, we got like maybe 6 or 7 tapes. Some of them we got like one or two. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Um, but we were, the four of us, Jake, Amanda, Lindsay, and me, we,
Hmm.
have
Four,
have
sorry. Yeah.
know a lot of actors, obviously,
Mm.
and so there were some that we would reach out in particular, and was like,
Mm.
we think you'd be really good at this. We'd love to see you for this role. Um, yeah, casting was really fun. It's so
Oh,
interesting to be on the
good.
other side of the table, because we're so used to making our submission tapes and our audition tapes.
Yes.
To be able to see them, it was really, really fun.
Yeah, I did that once when I did proof back in Florida. Yeah, it's you sometimes you have people you have in mind too, and you ask them to come and all that jazz. That's good. It went well.
Yeah,
And I forget, did you guys improv at all or was more mostly scripted?
we did definitely improv for sure because our timeline was so stupid. Our timeline was 8 days to film 8 episodes. It ended up being cut down to 7 episodes, but it's 8 episodes. We
They're great
basically
episodes.
filmed a feature length film length of material in 8 days, which is like just it's stupid. It's stupid. It's unheard of. Um,
It's ambitious, not stupid. It's ambitious.
I still have PTSD from it. It was the best. It was
Aw.
the coolest thing I've ever done. Our cast and crew was amazing, but we felt responsible for people and we were working them pretty hard. So I feel feel guilty about
I'm
that.
sure it's worth it.
But yeah, so sometimes because of the format, it's mockumentary. It's kind of we just did single cam. We didn't worry
Right. It
always about
works really
getting
well.
all of the different angles. That cut down a lot of time. But usually we would do like one or two, three takes where Jake and Amanda felt good, and then we would do a fun run and let people kind of go crazy and do whatever they want. And because we had such a strong cast of actors, that was always so often those takes are the ones that made it in because our cast is just so funny. They were all
They're
so,
great.
yeah, to be able to work with so many actors who are just like game to play was such a treat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And okay, so the show's main plot surrounds, and it's not really a spoiler because it's on the site, but finding out that the director of this didn't really have the rights to perform one of the shows, Mamma Mia. And for those of you not in the industry, it's you often have to pay to put up a production. And some older works, I'm sure, like Medea, the other production, were fine. What was like? Have you dealt with licensing issues? I think you told me something about that, how that works. But
Well,
Medea was expensive, right?
the reason the plot line came up was because we were writing it and we're like, oh, during their summer season they'll do Mamma Mia and they're doing Medea. um but we were like, okay, well, we can't afford the licensing for Mamma Mia,
It was
like
expensive, right? You said.
everyone and their mom is doing it, and it's like
Um,
we didn't even get, I think we got a quote, but it was thousands and thousands, and we're like,
wow,
we
because
can't.
plays are like 100 off thousands.
Yeah, musicals, and especially if they're being done in the
Oh,
area,
yeah, it
or
makes
if they were
sense.
recently on Broadway. um so we basically, art imitates reality, where we are like, okay, well, we can't afford to get the licensing rights for this, so neither can the theater in the show. So we made that, a plot point where
Right, what you know.
exactly. the artistic director can't afford to get the rights for the musical, so the actors have to create a parody of it last minute. Um, so that was honestly the most fun, coming up like rewriting lyrics and music that's similar to Mamma Mia, but different enough that we wouldn't get in trouble for it. Like Voulez-vous is the French song that means like I want it, right? Or I
Mhm,
want
right,
you.
right.
So then we did Quieres instead, just switched to Spanish. So it's
I love it. That's so
good
genius.
dumb humor.
It's fun. It's very clever. So I love that. And so I think you two told me before that you guys dealt with all kinds of like crazy summer stock experiences. So it's kind of like pulled from life, sort of almost.
So many things were things we'd heard of, stories or like um slightly exaggerated
Hmm.
stories. There was a lot. Like, people watch the show and they're always like, is this character based on this person, or is
Right.
this character based on this one? And no, I mean, like in every show there's a more, musical theater or kind of independent woman character. That's like the Jessica.
Right.
But we obviously characterized it, expanded it, there's always like the young actor who has the baritone voice and so is always cast as the dad, so there's
Right.
every cast has one of all of these characters. So it was really just like a collection of those types of stories. um
Do you
yeah,
remember any crazy stories from when you guys were any fun crazy stories from when you guys did summer stock there?
when we did summer stock,
If you can share them, if you can't, that's
not
okay.
at not at the Winnipesaukee Playhouse, but I did have one. I was in a show when the fire alarm kept going off, and they could not get it. Like it would, they turn it off, and then it would stay off for like 5 minutes, and then it would turn on again, and it was like counting down the
Oh
minutes till
my
the
god,
service
that's
was over.
annoying. What show were you doing?
We were doing hay fever, no Cowan. Sorry, it's so loud outside.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Uh, and we're and you have to have the fire alarm because it's a fire hazard
Did you
not
just
to. So
keep going? Did you just keep going?
I think eventually, we paused for a little bit, and eventually they got it sorted out. But we were all worried it was gonna go off in the middle of the show.
That is so like,
Yeah, another theater. It was like a barn, not the Winnipesaukee Playhouse, but a barn converted, and there was a hailstorm, and so like you
what?
couldn't hear anything that was happening on stage, and like that was devastating.
That's
But
wild.
you make it work.
Absolutely. And how did Winnipesaukee, speaking of them, how did they because I'm assuming they've seen the show by now. What did they think of it? What were they
Yeah,
did they have any words?
we
I'm
did.
sure they
So
loved it.
I didn't realize until the show actually came out that they were nervous about it,
Aw.
because they knew that it was a satire and a parody, and they knew that we were filming it at their theater.
Right.
Um, I because they didn't ask to read the script or anything, they just
So
really kind
nice.
of
So
let us go
trusting.
for it. And obviously it is a parody, and obviously there's a lot of fun and jokes made, but at the heart of the series is just this deep respect for the work
Oh
that
yeah, definitely.
these regional theaters do, and the opportunities that they provide actors, and above all the love of the craft. And um, it's an absolute blast. There's nothing like it. Everyone coming together and living together and having these very intense community experiences before taking the bus back to New York and going back to your regular lives. So there's a lot of love in this series, and so I think they were very pleasantly surprised and pleased
Aw. That's
to
awesome.
see the series. Yeah, so that was really really nice to
Aw.
get that feedback from them. Yeah,
And what were the owners' names again? Just so we can give them another shout out.
Leslie and Neil Pankhurst.
Leslie and Neil, you're awesome. Thank you for
Yeah, they are awesome.
and you've gotten into many film festivals with this show, as you mentioned before. What's the process like of submitting to festivals?
So film festivals, okay, you can, if you're gonna do it, I would say something that we learned. I would say like know way before your series is done what festivals you want to submit to,
Mm,
because some of them have time restrictions,
right.
some of them have deadlines, obviously. So you want to know like which year am I submitting it for each festival. Some festivals require a premiere status, others don't care. For the web fest, because it's more of like a new medium kind of, um, they're a little bit more casual about that. But I would just say like have your plan of attack earlier than you think, because I
Mm.
think we made it and we're like, okay, ready, and there are a lot of there's some opportunities that we missed. So that's my advice for that. But you go on to Film Freeway. They make
Oh,
it a really easy way to set up a profile, and you can submit to all of the festivals from that same spot. So it's a nice kind of place to keep your material, and it streamlines the process in a really great way.
well, that's awesome. What was that called again?
It's called Film Freeway.
Oh, okay, good. Good to know. Good to know. Very cool. I just want to talk a little bit about the characters because they're so unique. The characters you have, like for one, you have AJ Diddy who plays Ted, the head of the theater
Uh,
company. He's
AJ's
hilarious. I
amazing.
know they're all not specific people, but can you tell me more about the inspiration for this? Or tell me more about this character because I thought he was wonderful.
So Ted is I think of like sometimes like my high school theater teachers, and that served as some good inspiration for Ted. Ted is eccentric and wacky. He loves an extended bizarre metaphor. He's,
Mm,
he's definitely in his like imagination. He's very creative, but he's not always got the boots on the ground in terms of logistics, which is why some aspects of the theater don't run as smoothly as they could. But Ted loves the work that he does.
mhm,
Um, so yeah, I the best I can think of it is like sometimes like some of the high school theater directors I have, but he's eccentric. He 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 loves words. He's goofy. He loves his actors. Yeah, Ted's kind of amorphous.
AJ was great, just so good.
AJ is insane, and so much of AJ's Ted came out of some improv that like moments. So many of the images of Ted in the series are the fun runs that AJ did and
That's
are like
awesome.
his own one-liners. AJ's freaking brilliant.
And then you've got like Jessie Gill, who's the techie or the stage manager. I thought she was really good at showing what kind of hell those people are usually in. She's trying to please everyone from the actors to her boss. Have you ever done any like tech work or stage manager work, or you just went off of other people's?
Yeah. No, in high school, I'm not a singer. So in high school, I would usually do the technical side of the musicals. And the tech kids were so great and so cool, but obviously, and this is more of a stereotype for high school, but it kind of exists out, sometimes into the professional world where the stereotype is that actors are all full of themselves and don't know the technicians' names,
Right.
which is why Techie doesn't have a name. Techie is just called
Oh,
Techie.
okay. Okay.
Um, as kind of a nod at the fact that no one really cares enough to get to know her. But they do so much work, so much of theater, obviously.
Oh yeah.
It, the technical stuff, the incredible lights and costumes and
You need them for
music.
sure.
Exactly, right? So we kind of made a joke of that by having Techie in charge of all of the technical aspects of the show, and no one really, no one really appreciates her for all the work that she does.
And
But
that's how it happens too, because I did a show where I was stage managing and I also ended up doing like light and sound, like the light board and soundboard or whatever. So
yeah,
yeah, that happens sometimes. And Jesse was great too in this role. I
yeah,
think he was wonderful. Everybody was wonderful. We've also got, is it Azriel Cruz?
Azrael, yep,
Azriel, yeah, and Christopher Joel Onken,
Pumpkin, yeah,
who
the power
parody the process of acting. I really like their showmance in the show. And Ella, I loved how wide-eyed and excited your character Margot was. She's the ingenue. Do you remember like what it was like when you first started as an actor? Did you put any of yourselves in that of you in that character? Like, because she's like the
yeah.
new fresh-faced actress.
I mean, I've been acting since I was a little kid, not professionally, just you know, always loved theater.
Of course.
But I think of like my freshman year at NYU. I was like, around all this amazing talent, and I
Aw.
definitely had that kind of eager beaver, you know, hunger that Margot has. Margot
Yeah.
has a huge hunger to just learn it all. So that definitely played a role. But then, yeah, yeah.
That's cool. And then one of my favorites, I think, too, was Yanni as Ben. He really hit the heartstrings for me. I think he really just wants to be accepted. I feel like we can all
Yeah.
kind of feel that way. What made you want to decide to put in this character? And do you or Lindsay or anybody have experiences like that?
Yeah, Yanni is so good. He was hilarious, hilarious.
Wonderful. Mhm.
Yeah, I Ben is kind of off that what I was talking about earlier about how there's usually, a lot of the times with regional theater or non-union, the adult actor, like, and by adult I don't mean like, I mean like 50s or 60s or 70s, that pool is much smaller. So often if they have a younger actor who can sing the notes or could believably play older, that's what will happen. So Lindsay and I were thinking about all the young actors that we know who often are cast as those older roles,
Mhm.
and we were finding the humor in that. So that's what Ben is cast, and he plays all three of the dads in Mamma Mia. And all Ben wants is a showmance, and he just wants
Oh,
some onstage romance that would build into some offstage romance. But
oh,
yeah, Ben's got a fun arc.
he does that role so well too.
He's
Um,
Yanni's amazing. He
he's
also went
wonderful.
to school with Amanda and me, so yeah.
Oh, nice. And then Lindsey Bristol plays Jessica, who I think was really good at flirting with Steven, really great comedic timing.
Yeah,
Stephen
hilarious.
Rada played Nathan. And I particularly love Jack Scott's Evan, his like gossipy
So
character.
good.
I mean, he's dramatic but still believable. How about like the inspiration? And did he also do a lot of improv as well?
Um, did he? Yeah, I think he did. Jack, first of all, is so talented, so in love with him.
Mhm.
He really,
Love
really
his
brought
character.
Evan to life in a way that we hadn't even like fleshed him. He just really brought Evan to life. Evan
Mhm.
was it's like the musical theater dancer kid who is a really talented dancer, and is giggly and a great member of the cast. But what I loved that Jack brought to the role of Evan was just this like incredible confidence and this kind of like non-binary gender
Mm,
bending aspect too.
totally.
And he worked with Ricky, our costume designer, and in the end, you see Jack's character and his friend Chrissy both play or are both the swan in their swan lake and are both wearing
Aw.
tutus. And
Mhm.
yeah, Jack and Ricky just did amazing things with the costumes. I feel like every scene that Jack is in, he is hilarious. His
Mhm.
costumes are on point, are like so interesting to look at. And yeah, he really brought Evan to life in a way that we didn't even see on the page. So that was
That's
really
so
cool.
nice. That's so cool.
And that's
Um,
a mark of a fabulous actor. Yeah, who
yes.
can really
I hope you tell him that we're gonna have to get him to listen to this so he can hear it because I'm sure that would be very special. And how do you pronounce her first name? Miss Parrott, who plays Linda. I just don't want to butcher
Shayla.
Shayla, right? She's the older ensemble member, or older. I just say like not like ingenue. But I really think she showcases this. A lot of actresses, myself, a lot of us that like we're gonna once we get older, that there goes our like need to be important, and how she just gets frustrated that she's seen as a mom. Can you talk a little bit about how you feel ageism comes into play, especially for women in theater?
Yeah, for sure. I here when I sometimes when I talk to female actresses, they say like they worked all the time and then they hit 35 or whatever and they stopped working and then they worked again once they turned 60 or something. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like I think there will always obviously be a bajillion million roles for men of any
Mhm,
age. And
mhm.
I think, often sometimes like industry or producers or writers don't know what to do with women that aren't the mom, the sister, the crush, the hot one, whatever, right? And so I just think that that's a real shame because women
Yeah,
obviously play all sorts of roles and are of value at every age. So
exactly.
Shayla did a beautiful job bringing out Linda's insecurities about aging out of those ingenue roles in the theater, and her fear of will she work again, and I think that's a really really real fear for a lot of actresses.
Absolutely. I'm starting to think though when I get older, maybe there'll just be less competition because that's the only other thing I'm trying to think of. But yeah,
Yeah, I
it
was
is
gonna
it is scary though. And we all want to everybody wants what I don't get about like the industry is like I think everyone wants to see themselves represented. So it's like they don't always realize that.
for sure. And obviously things are changing and are
Oh
getting
yeah,
better.
it's just
But
slowly.
yeah.
And so what's next for the show? Are there any plans to send it to networks or for like a second season? What's the next step? Because everybody loves it. It's a great
Yeah.
show.
Oh, thank you. Lindsay and I have written a full like 30-minute pilot version
Hmm,
that we are have been sending out to some people and having some meetings about. The
yeah.
dream obviously would be to have the show basically be remade and expanded into a full
Mm,
30-minute format, just so that we can further develop the characters and the stories and right now it's very niche and like theater specific obviously, so expanding it, making it a little bit more accessible and universal, that
mm.
would be the dream. But yeah, right now we're just so happy that it's getting such good feedback on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that's been really, really fun to hear people, we filmed this a while ago and it's been a
When did you
journey.
film it anyway? When was it?
We filmed fall of 2019. So it's
Wow.
been a minute.
Well,
um,
that's cool though. Yeah.
so it feels really, really amazing to be able to share it with people finally, especially everyone who donated. This is a product of their generosity. And so we wanted to make sure we shared it with them. So yeah,
Absolutely. So
really.
as far as that goes too, I'm assuming if they're available, will you use the same people? Will you expand with more characters, or it's just hard to say? Like if you get the pilot, or you get more episodes, or anything like that.
Uh, I don't, I don't know.
Too far in the future. Too
I
far.
don't know. Yeah. Obviously we'd love to work with everyone again and
Mhm.
everyone, who put so much into this. But it's definitely, an unknown territory for
Right.
Lindsay and I. Um, so we'll just have to see.
It's exciting though. There's a whole big thing waiting for you guys. Like there's a big future, I think.
Aw,
Um,
fingers crossed.
I think so, yeah. So what other projects are you working on, and how can listeners follow news on you and Lindsay and everybody involved? And this is BS.
Yes, you can definitely follow us on Instagram. Please do. Would love that. We're at This Is BS the series. We're also on Facebook at This Is BS the series. But if you want to watch it, that's the best way to support it. Watch it and
Mhm.
share it with your friends. That is amazing. We'd be so grateful.
It's on YouTube, right?
Um,
Pretty easy to get to.
it's on YouTube, but you can find it on our
Perfect.
website, which is thisisbs.org. You
Mhm.
can see all the episodes there. Otherwise, I'm at hey underscore Ella Smith, and Lindsay, I think it's just, I don't know what her Instagram is, but I
I
don't have
follow both of them,
it.
so if you want to check either of them out, you could also just see who I
Her
follow. But
personal Instagram.
I'm looking too really quick.
It's a
This is
race. It's a race. Lindsay.
it's
Oh hey, it's at oh hey, it's Lindsay Shea. Shea.
yeah,
You can
very
follow
cute.
along. We obviously post all the time about it. But yeah, watch, share, and follow us on Instagram.
Yes, yes, please do. And yeah, that's again, thank you so much for coming back. I'm so sorry we couldn't have Lindsay with us, sending her love and
I
thank
know.
you
Me too.
too. And thank you so much again for doing this again with the technical difficulties. But hopefully, people are gonna like. I feel like this isn't gonna be an even better episode because I have you in video and it looks nice. So thank
Yeah,
you so
this is
much, and
perfect.
make sure you watch This Is BS because you should.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, that's about going to do it for this episode of Johanna's Artbeat. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're watching the video or you're listening. It would be really, really helpful if you're able to subscribe. You can rate and review because that really helps me out. I basically do this other than occasional small donations for free. So I really appreciate hearing your feedback and getting likes and knowing what's working for you guys because without an audience, there is no show. I'll just be talking into the void. So I'm Johanna Grisey, your host of Johanna's Artbeat. Thank you so much again to Ella Smith of This Is BS the series. Remember, you can watch it on YouTube. She is fantastic, as is her co-creator Lindsey Bristol. There are very, very, very big and bigger things coming for these ladies. I just know it, and everybody involved in the series was phenomenal. Be sure to check out and follow their work. To learn more about me, you can go to johannagrisey.com. You can check me out on Instagram. I'm Johanna Argrisey there. On Facebook, it's artist Johanna Grisey. I'm on Twitter as well. And now I have gotten into the TikToks, kids. The TikToks. I'm aging myself. But you can find me at Johanna Grisey Official on there. And I like to post silly little videos, and they seem to be getting a lot of views. So please do follow me on there. I would really appreciate it. And remember that unfortunately, even though numbers are down, COVID is still a thing. So please wear your mask on the subway. Please, if you haven't gotten it yet, please get your booster. And please just stay as safe as you are able to. Warmer weather is coming though, so yay, good news. But please continue to be like respectful of your fellow, citizens here, and try to keep them safe as much as you can by getting vaccinated and masking where you need to. Thank you so much again for listening. And this episode, I would like to dedicate a little different here. I'd like to dedicate it to Ella and Lindsey and thank them so much again for their patience with having to re-record the interview, or to re-record it with Ella, because that really meant a lot. There's, I guess, a moment that happens for every podcaster where their technology fails them and they have to go hat in hand to the people who are guests and say, I'm so sorry, we have to do this again because I don't have the tape. And they were just angels about it and really understanding. And I really appreciate their time. They rock. Thank you again for watching Johanna's Artbeat or listening. Take care, and hopefully you'll tune in next time. Thanks a lot.